Hi everyone and welcome back to Maths and Physics with Mr. Simons. Now in this grade 11 revision lesson, we're looking at the general solution problems. We give you sine and cos and we have to use the quotient identity to write it in terms of 10. Right? So yeah, video 3 of 7. Say solve for theta if sine theta equal cos theta and theta is the element of 0 degrees to 360 degrees. So first things first, we have to have a single trig ratio, meaning we can either have sine, cos, or tan, but not both of them at the same time. So yeah, I'm going to divide both sides by cos. So sine theta divided by cos, cos theta divided by cos. Sine theta divided by cos theta gives me tan theta, and cos theta divided by cos theta gives me 1. Alright, we only do this. So we only do this if that quotient identity will become 10. So get 1 mark for simplifying the quotient identity. Second mark for finding our reference angle. So again on my Casio calculator, I'm just going to press 10, shift 10, 1, and I get 45 degrees. So that's 2 marks up to there. Tan there is given as positive 1. So tan is positive in quadrant 1 and quadrant 3. So in quadrant 1, the angle theta equals 45 degrees plus k times 180. Quadrant 3, it equals 180 plus 45 plus k times 180. K 180 because we're dealing with 10. Alright, 180 plus 45 would then give me 225. So 1 mark there for creating the two equations. 2 marks here for simplifying. Alright, now they want us to solve for theta. So we have to substitute values in the place of k because k is the element of integers to find all the angles between 0 degrees to 360. That was the restriction given to me. Right? Now this procedure that you see here, you don't need to write it out. You need to get to these two answers. So if I take 45 plus k 180, if I put in minus 1 in the place of k, I have minus 180 plus 45, gives me 135, which is not in that interval. If I take 225 plus k 180 and I put in minus 1, I get 225 minus 180, which gives me 45, which is the answer in the interval. Right, for the second one, if I choose k equal to 0, theta would equal 45 plus 0 times 180, which gives me 45 degrees. And there 225 plus 0 times 180, 225 plus 0 gives me 225, which also falls between 0 and 360. Choose k equal to 1, I have 180. 1 times 180 is 180 plus 45, gives me 225, which is in the interval. But if I say 180 plus 225, it gives me 405, which is not in the interval. So from 0 to 360, I only have 45 and 225 degrees fall in the interval. So theta here equal 45 or theta equal 225, and 1 mark for that, 2 answers. So I hope you follow, you understand what I've done. I'm showing you this, but as I say, you can do this all on your calculators. So we choose the integers 0, 1, minus 1, sometimes minus 2, 2, etc. depending on what we're multiplying with and how big our interval is. Let's look at the second problem. So solve for theta if 5 sine theta equal negative 4 cos theta. Alright. So from here, we have negative 4 cos theta divided by cos theta, which gives me negative 4. And there we have 5 sine theta divided by cos theta, which then becomes 5 tan 4. Divide by 5 and tan theta equal negative 4 over 5. My apologies. And 1 mark for simplifying the quotient identity. So for my reference angle, I'm going to press shift 10, 4 over 5 without the negative. That gives me 38,65, etc. degrees. That's my reference angle. Alright? Take note there, I see I didn't type in the negative, but it should read negative 4. Now tan is negative, and it's negative in quadrant 2 and quadrant 4. So in quadrant 2, theta is given there equals 180 minus the reference angle, plus k times 180 because I'm dealing with tan. Or of quadrant 4 is 360 minus the angle plus k times 180. 1 mark for creating the two equations, and then 1 mark for each one that's simplified. So 180 minus 38,66 gives me 141,34 plus k times 180, and 360 minus 38,66 gives me 321,34 plus k times 180. K element of integers. Right, now we're working the restriction given, theta element of negative 360 to 270. So we're only accepting answers between these two values, not equal because it's two open brackets. So if I take negative 2 and I place it in here, 141 plus negative 360, negative 2 times 180, would give me negative 280, 18,66. Take negative 1, 141,34 minus 180 gives me minus 38,66. My apologies. If I take 0, that gives me 141,34, and if I take 180 plus that gives me 321,34. If I take 321,180, if I put negative 2, that's minus 360, which gives me minus 38,66. Take minus 180, 321 minus 180, 141,34. If I put 0, I simply have 321, and if I take 1, 501. So between minus 360 to 270, minus 218,66, minus 38,66, and 141,34 are the only values that fall within that interval. That is too big, and that is too big. So theta is the element of negative 218,66, next biggest value minus 38,66, my biggest value of 141,34. So 1 mark for getting the correct angles. Alright, so I hope we're still together and you're understanding. Now, question 3, solve for theta if 4 cos theta minus 3 sin theta equals 0. And yeah, our restriction is from minus 180 to 180. Right, so I leave minus 3 sin theta on the left hand side, and if I take 4 cos theta over, it becomes negative 4 cos theta. If I divide by cos theta both sides, and this would become sin theta over cos theta. And here if I divide by negative 3 on both sides, I have minus 4 over negative 3. So tan theta equals 4 over 3. Alright, 1 mark for simplifying that quotient identity. Another mark for getting a reference angle. So we're going to press on my Casio, shift 10, 4 over 3, and it will give me 53,13 degrees. Right, tan is positive in quadrant 1 and quadrant 3. So in quadrant 1, it's simply theta equal my reference angle plus k times 180 because it's tan. In quadrant 3, it's theta equal 180 plus the reference angle of 53,13 plus k times 180. If I simplify here, I have 233,13, 180 plus that gives me this value plus k times 180. So 1 mark for creating the two equations, 2 marks for getting the answer. If we substitute in here, now 0, I get 53,13, and if I substitute 0, I get 233,13, which is not in the interval. If I use minus, I would get 53,13, and there if I use minus, I get negative 126,87. You can continue testing it as I showed you via the table. But as I say, 1 mark for simplifying, mark for reference angle, 1 mark for creating the two proper equations in the quadrant toward k times 180. Sometimes we can give you a second mark for writing k 180, and then 2 marks for simplifying, and then 1 mark for finding the angles. Right, I hope you enjoyed the lesson. Please remember to like and subscribe so that I can continue creating content that will assist you and help you become better. God bless. Bye.